Cycling shoes are one of the most important bits of kit you'll buy. They're one of only 3 contact points between you and the bike and will have a huge impact on your comfort, efficiency and overall enjoyment of riding. Find the right pair of shoes and you'll hardly even know you're wearing them. Squeeze into the wrong shoes and you're in for a really uncomfortable, potentially painful and overall really unpleasant experience that could even turn you off bike riding altogether. So, how do you decide which shoe is right for you? Well, I'm going to tell you. Now in this video, I'm going to be using shoes provided by Italian manufacturer Northwave, who have very kindly provided us with heaps of different shoes from across their range. But don't worry, the information in this video is relevant across pretty much all cycling shoe brands. But before we go any further, big thanks to Northwave for sponsoring this video and providing all the shoes you see here. Knowing what sort of riding you're going to be doing is the best place to start when getting a new pair of cycling shoes. Will you be sticking to tarmac, riding off-road, or a mix of the two? If you're purely riding road, you'll most likely want to be using a 3-bolt SBD style cleat. So you can look at something like this, which is designed purely for road cleats and not really built for walking in. Shoes like this are great if you're looking for stiffness, lightweight, and efficient power transfer, but not so great if you know your riding is going to involve some hiker bike. Now this shoe is designed for mountain biking. It's still performance focused with a stiff carbon sole, but added rubber tread, and it's the use of a 2-bolt SBD style cleat. It means that you can walk in these shoes and still clip into your pedals even if they're covered in mud. A gravel shoe like this one bears a lot of similarities to a mountain bike shoe, but is perhaps a bit more comfort focused rather than out and out performance. You can still ride mountain bike in gravel shoes and vice versa, and there's definitely a lot of overlap. But if you know you're going to be focusing on one specific discipline, you can invest in a particular type of shoe to help you get the most out of it. You might also look at some specific shoes for your commute. Now, obviously you can commute in normal road, gravel or mountain bike shoes, but investing in a specific set of commuting shoes is something to consider. These will typically be much more comfort focused and have an emphasis on walkability, durability, and typically be a little bit less expensive. The added bonus here is that you can save the extra wear your commute might cause on your more expensive specialist shoes. Whatever type of riding you do though, there's definitely a shoe out there that suits. So, what about pedal type? Clipless or flat? SPD or SPD SL? Look Keo or Wahoo Speedplay? These are the kinds of questions you'll be faced with if you're buying a pair of cycling shoes for the first time. There's no right or wrong answer here, and there's pros and cons to each system. Let's start with 3-bolt type pedals and cleats. These are designed for use on the road and prioritise lightweight and a big cleat-to-pedal contact patch for optimum power transfer. Shoes that take this type of cleat won't typically have any rubber tread on them to make walking easier, so the cleat itself contacts the ground if you walk around in these shoes. This means that if you're walking a lot in your cycling shoes, you'll have pretty limited grip and will wear through your cleats quite quickly. If that sounds like you might want to look past these road cleats in favour of SPDs, or smaller metal 2-bolt cleats. The major difference here is that these cleats are recessed into a cycling shoe's tread, so it doesn't actually contact the ground when you're walking. Now the amount of tread on shoes varies depending on if the shoe is designed for mountain biking, gravel or commuting. That said, it's worth noting that most spin bikes that you'll find in gyms or spin classes will use this type of cleat as well. So if that's the type of cycling you enjoy and you're looking to upgrade to clipless pedals, this is the type of cleat you need. These cleats are a bit heavier than road cleats, and the shoes are heavier too. They also offer a lot more float. That's the amount of side-to-side movement you can make when you're clipped in, and a much lower release tension, so they're easier to get in and out of. This is great when you're just getting used to clipping in, or you just want the easiest experience. Of course, flat pedals are an option too. As great as clipless pedals are, there's still a lot of use cases where a flat pedal is the right tool for the job, especially if you're hopping on and off a bike, or you just don't want to be fixed to the pedals. Could you just use your trainers? Absolutely, but investing in a dedicated pair of cycling shoes to use with flat pedals can give you a much better experience. They'll have a stiffer, more resilient sole than your average trainer, perhaps a closure system like a dial, which is easier to adjust on the fly, and maybe even some waterproofing. So if you like riding flat pedals off-road, you don't need to trash your best trainers in the process. So once you know if you're going to be clipping in or sticking with flats, you can start to look a bit more closely at the specific features of the shoe itself. Most importantly, I'd say, is going to be the closure system. One key difference between cycling shoes is the variety of closure systems you'll see. Most brands will offer something with dials like these, traditional laces, or even Velcro. Different closure systems offer different advantages. Dials are adjustable on the fly or through a pair of overshoes, but typically come at a slightly higher price point. Now, Northwave use their own proprietary technology, the SLW3 dial, but you'll see different manufacturers using different brands of dial, like BOA, for example. Laces are a lot lighter, and you can really dial in the fit across the whole shoe, and they also have that old school cool factor, but they can't be adjusted while you're riding and need replacing relatively regularly. Velcro is a bit lighter again, but also typically a bit less expensive, as well as very quick to put on and take off, but you'll typically find it more towards the entry-level end of shoe range, so might miss out on some of the key performance features if you favour this closure system. Let's talk about fit. It sounds obvious, but making sure you get the right shoe size is key in getting your setup dialed. Get this wrong and you're going to be very uncomfortable. Get it right and you'll forget you're even wearing the shoes. One thing a lot of cycling shoe brands will offer is a wide fit, which you don't typically find in casual shoes. Having a wider fitting shoe can help if you have higher volume feet and reduce the hot spots or rubbing you might feel along the inside and outside of your shoe. This is particularly notable in the summer when you might find your feet swell up a little bit in the heat. These Northwave Hammer Plus shoes, for example, are available with a regular and a wide fit last, which are a whole centimetre wider than the regulars. Northwave, like most brands, has a detailed size guide on their website with specific measurements you can take to find out which size shoe works best. After all, most brands size and shape up a little bit differently, even if the nominal size is the same. Of course, nothing beats getting down to your local bike shop and trying the shoes on in real life, or even having a chat with a professional bike fitter before making any purchasing decisions. Cycling is an all-season sport. Modern clothing and equipment have gotten so good now that with the right gear, you can stay relatively comfortable in virtually all weathers, from the heat of summer to the depths of winter, and cycling shoes are no different. Summer shoes will be lighter weight and have more ventilation, which will increase airflow to help keep your feet cool on hotter days. Conversely, winter-specific cycling shoes or boots have high cuffs to better seal your foot from the elements, much less ventilation, and usually a weatherproof Gore-Tex membrane to keep your feet warm and dry in the winter without the need for big bulky overshoes. Shoes like this are also great because if you're prepared to invest in a second pair of shoes, you can save your summer shoes for the dry days and extend their lifespan. Price-wise, you can spend just about as much or as little as you like on a pair of cycling shoes. At the entry-level side of things, you can pick up a really solid pair of shoes for less than £100, dollars or euros. Typically, you'll see Velcro closure system and a sole made of a reinforced nylon rather than carbon fibre, and these will tend to be a little bit heavier than more expensive options. Stepping up to a more mid-level shoe, you might see some carbon fibre on the sole and a dial or lace closure system. Ventilation can also be a little bit better for fair weather shoes, and they'll be a little bit lighter. This sort of price point is typically a real sweet spot between comfort and performance, and offers all of the performance most riders actually need. When spending more money, a shoe's priorities move more towards performance. The old bike industry adage of lighter, stiffer, faster really rings true here. And you'll see full carbon soles, technical dial closure systems, enhanced ventilation, and more when you're spending upwards of £250 to £300 with most brands. Some even have soles which can be moulded to suit the shape of your foot. By now, it's probably clear there is a lot of choice out there, and you can spend more time choosing your shoes than your bike. The three key takeaways are: work out the type of riding you're actually going to be doing, on or off-road, commuting or racing. Match the shoe to the riding you're going to be doing. Decide what your budget is. That will likely determine the features available to you. Spend some time finding the right size and shape that suits your feet. If you can get down to your local bike shop to try the shoes on in person, even better. All the shoes used in this video will be linked in the description below, so if you like what you see, head down there and check them out. And whilst you're down there, remember to drop us a like, hit subscribe, and click that little bell icon so you get notified every time we upload a new video. Thinking about buying a new saddle? Why not check out our saddle buyer's guide just here.